dear friends, representing multiple institutions, government, civil society, private sector, academia, good morning. I want to acknowledge also all the partners who have come together to support this week's event, and I'm really delighted on behalf of the United Nations system in Rwanda to join this conversation. And my starting point, of course, is commending the government for the partnership with the Rwanda Internet Community and Technology Alliance and with other stakeholders in hosting this National Internet Governance Forum here in Kigali. And of course, acknowledging the pivotal role of the Ministry of ICT and Innovation for the visionary leadership in Rwanda's digital transformation journey. But to thank all the development cooperation partners, UN agencies, private sector, civil society, everyone who's played a role in the collaborative efforts to make events like this possible. As both Robert and Alex have acknowledged, the role of digital technology dominating our global conversations, but also the pivot globally towards digital technologies to tackle the most pressing challenges we face, whether they're in development, environment, political, social, but also the complexities, disinformation, misinformation, and other related issues. In September last year, world leaders convened at the United Nations headquarters in New York for what was billed as a summit of the future. And the United Nations Secretary General presented what he called a once-in-a-generation opportunity to revive multilateral cooperation to address current and future global challenges. Heads of state and government and other high-level officials adopted the Pact for the Future, as well as two annexes, the Global Digital Compact, Robert and Alex have mentioned them, and a Declaration on Future Generations as the summit's outcome. So I really want to commend the idea of the Internet Governance School and bringing university students and other students into the conversation, because it's all about them, it's all about the future, which is where the reports say that the jobs of tomorrow are not even existing today. So imagine the kinds of jobs we should envision about where we're headed as a global community. What is the goal of the GDC? It is to build an inclusive, open, sustainable, fair, safe, and secure digital future for all. So it cites connectivity, digital skills, digital public infrastructure, and digital public goods as key tools to close all digital divides and to accelerate progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. So our theme here in Rwanda of building digital governance together is therefore very well aligned with the GDC, because you're challenging all of us to look around and ask how we can collaboratively work together to make use of digital technologies to develop our country. It's a call to action to identify the right foundations to build Rwanda's digital future that must yield substantial returns and a net positive impact on socio-economic development in Rwanda. It's a call for building inclusive, resilient, and sustainable digital future that empowers all Rwandans to harness the full potential of digital technologies. It's a call to promote digital inclusion and to spur action to close all digital divides. It's a call to promote global thinking for local digital innovation. Think global, act local. Indeed, it's a call to promote a thriving internet ecosystem that unlocks new opportunities and drives sustainable growth across Africa. Alex, you made the point about the role of the UN in the Global Digital Compact. And why this is important and why I want to commend the leadership, colleagues like yourselves, in leading this conversation, participating in global dialogue. If you look at how globalization has emerged in the world, the post-World War II phenomenon, the rise of globalization, was about economic expansion. But economic expansion did not create room for the addressing the legacies of the expansion, which is the exclusion and the inequality that emerged. So we had global institutions, World Bank, IMF, WTO, whose function was essentially to promote the acceleration of economic opportunities. But it became clear that inequities were not being addressed. And then we set up United Nations systems to manage the inequities from globalization. But you found that over time, The logic was that the economic expansion, the globalization will spread wealth across the world. So even the UN became part of the mechanisms for accelerating globalization. But they lacked the governance architecture to effectively police and address those inequalities. So global development institutions, with all due respect that we play, including my own organization, the United Nations system, our role then became to broker the support that was coming from globalization to support countries mitigate the inequalities. Because we were not structurally prepared to become active players in globalization. We didn't have the manufacturing, we're producing commodities and selling them, others were adding value and bringing to us. The whole logic of comparative advantage in economics. So some of us would actually argue that this role then consigned the UN to becoming a broker for development aid from the West. It consigned the UN to becoming, to manage poverty rather than helping the economic transformation of countries. So what does the Summit of the Future offer? The Summit of the Future offers a new conversation around international development. Not just the role of the United Nations, but a seat at the table for member states. Because if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. So the logic of the conversation is about Rwanda's active role in harnessing how does this system that we can't even foretell what it will look like even 10 years from now. How to become active players? How are we on the table to be part of this conversation? That's why the point you make, Alex, is so important. A global governance of the internet, global governance of digital technologies, particularly of AI, that we have to be part of that, constructing that new future and being active players in that role. Which is why Rwanda's remarkable leadership in this transformation journey should be commended. Because many other countries have similar legislation, but not positioning for a front seat, positioning for being active in the discussion, in the debate, on the ideas, the contestation around ideas on how to frame what the future will look like, and the role of member states. So that's why for Rwanda it's become a regional digital hub in East Africa, with very impressive achievements that include extensive fiber optic infrastructure, widespread 4G coverage, innovative e-governance platforms that have streamlined public service delivery. So initiatives like Smart Rwanda, Digital Ambassadors Program, and the thriving innovation ecosystem in places like the Kigali Innovation City, they showcase how digital technologies can be harnessed for national development. These achievements position Rwanda not just as a continental leader, but as an active contributor to initiatives like the Africa Continental Free Trade Area's digital trade protocols. And Rwanda is one of the first seven countries on the guided trade initiative for AFTA. Now, we don't need just 7. We need the whole member states of the African Union to lower the barriers, tariff, non-tariff barriers, so trade can accelerate. Because the cost of business, intra-African trade is so low. And we're hoping that with innovations like digitalization and using the African Continental Free Trade Area, we can increase trade in Africa. And you know, the evidence is clear. Countries that do business closely with each other hardly go to war against each other. So imagine the implications for peace and security in our continent, but also then implications for social and economic development in Africa. So they're all interconnected together. So areas like connectivity, digital skills, and innovation, enabling policy and regulatory environment, as well as investments, are the key pillars for a sustainable digital transformation. The SDG Digital Acceleration Agenda demonstrates that digital solutions can directly benefit 119 out of the 169 SDG targets. And why is this important? It is important because if you look at the statistics from the Department of Economic and Social Affairs at UN headquarters in New York, SDG implementation is at 17% globally. To no country is on course to meet any of the targets in SDGs, 17%. And when you look at the NST2, with the 6 priorities of NST2, and we agreed with government to add a 7th priority on sustainable finance, NST2 differs from NST1 in the framing on integration, on coherence, on scale, so they can have impact. The biggest accelerator for integration, coherence, and scale is digitalization. So you can see the connection, why 119 out of 169 SDG targets digitalization is a key enabler for all of this. So where we are in Rwanda positions us. Now what is needed is to now roll up our sleeves and do the work that is necessary. Because all of these 119, they amount to 70% of the SDG targets. Certainly meaningful connectivity and access to affordable and secure ICTs is critical for sustainable development. Rwanda has a wide coverage. We have access, but affordability. So we have work to do in terms of making it affordable so that at the subnational level, at the rural levels, the local farmers, everybody can use the benefits of digitalization and ICT broadly. However, the financing needs for broadband connectivity are not being met, and so delaying investment is not an option, as this will further delay the achievement of the SDG targets, but also Africa Union's Agenda 2063 and Rwanda's Vision 2050 program. Rwanda's young, dynamic population is a tremendous digital dividend in capturing these opportunities. Coding boot camps, innovation hubs, and tech entrepreneurship programs are already preparing our youth to lead in this digital economy transformation. And Robert, I was heartened to learn when you said that this will happen every year. For the governance forum, that school will continue to expand and create opportunities for more young people. If you look at a study commissioned by the International Finance Corporation, it proposes that there will be 330 million digital jobs in sub-Saharan Africa by 2030. 5 years' time, 330 million digital jobs in Africa. So we're on the right path, but we need to accelerate and to expand. You look at the IMF's 2024 Regional Economic Outlook, it says that 1 in 5 workers globally will come from Africa by 2050. 25 years from now, 1 in 5 workers globally. So huge opportunities and trends. Now, on the downside, we have 2.6 billion people who are still offline across the world. So too many nations, women and other vulnerable groups too often find themselves on the wrong side of the digital divide. The same for us here. The exclusion is the face of a woman. The exclusion is the face of a girl. The exclusion is rural. So yes, it's fun. We do fantastic work in Kigali and all the other major cities and secondary cities. Now we need to intensify the efforts to target our women, target our girls, target our rural communities so they can benefit from the digital dividend that we're talking about. So only 38% of the population in Africa have access to the internet. Meanwhile, the global average is 68%. Even in areas where internet connectivity is available, many do not have access to ICT devices such as computers, laptops, or tablets. This limits their ability to participate in the digital economy. Is this the internet we want? An internet that empowers only some people while leaving many others behind? More importantly, is this the internet we need? Personally, and on behalf of the UN system, we are inspired by the growing digital inclusion in Rwanda, especially the increased digital financial services that are available. Rwanda's digital leap with mobile money platforms has made financial transactions a matter of a simple click, showing the vast potential of inclusive technologies. There is an opportunity to leapfrog it when it comes to digital transformation by enhancing, among others, connectivity, access to digital technologies, affordability, digital content, and data governance. As we advance in this digital age, we must prioritize responsible innovation. This includes ensuring robust data protection, promoting digital rights, and developing ethical frameworks for emerging technologies like AI. And I see in the program a number of these issues are part of the conversations that will be had today. Rwanda's commitment to responsible digital governance will serve as a model for the region and contribute to global best practices in digital rights and privacy protection. Dear friends and colleagues, I encourage all of us to leave this forum with actionable outcomes that will propel Rwanda's digital governance agenda forward, but more importantly, enable Rwanda to be a champion for the conversations on digital governance globally going ahead because of the link between this and our governance. We don't want to be on the menu. We want to be at the table. To all participants, let's commit to specific actions that will contribute to implementing Rwanda's national digital strategy and achieving Vision 2050 objectives. The insights and recommendations from these discussions will hopefully feed into our policy conversations, and I can see the previous annual conversations, how this fed into policy. So clearly, I'm speaking the language because the direct connections are there. Both policy framework, but also partnership initiatives, ensuring that the forum produces tangible results for Rwanda's digital future. Before I conclude, I note the point in relation to the media, that without customized digital content, digital infrastructure has little to do. I am not sure of the state of policy in terms of local content production on media. But for us in Nigeria, it was a game changer in terms of actually the accelerated movie industry, accelerated music industry, because we came with a policy that insisted on minimum 60% local content in media production, broadcast, you name it. So everybody had to start scampering all the production houses. Where do you find the material? And it challenged people because it showed there was a local market, and from there, you now see what has happened with Nollywood, with music and everything. So I'm not sure what the state of the law is, but if it isn't there, that's a priority we need to begin with, because that then challenges our creatives to focus. And it's happening at the right time when the Afrexim Bank just announced a $1 billion facility for creatives in Africa, the FEDA Fund. Do you know where the FEDA Fund sits? I&M building in Kigali, and it's supposed to cover for Africa. So you can't sit here in Kigali, and we're not one of the first beneficiaries. And we are very much focused as the United Nations system, together with the creative industry in Rwanda and Ministry of Youth and Arts. We need to tap into that. But it has to be linked to policy that enables access to credit. I was speaking to a bank MD last year, making a pitch for the industry, for the financing for creatives. And one leader in the bank said to me, "You mean it's these guys with dreadlocks that will give our money? They will run away with our money." And I said, "No, ma'am, the creativity is in the dreadlocks. They're going to stay here with their money." So, but we need the policy, we need the link to digitalization, because now you can make a movie with even one medium-sized camera. So the possibilities are immense, but I like that conversation on the media because of the importance of local content, but the importance of using that to enable creatives broadly, not just on media write-ups and production. So relevant local content and services that respond to the demands and needs of our users will help us drive digital adoption and growth. I have no doubt that digital innovations that are embedded in Rwanda's realities will generate homegrown solutions that address our present development problems. And we have quite a number that are persistent, protracted development problems. And we're asking for questions. We're asking for the innovation to help to drive them. Take one example, cooking fuel. That pollutes our environment. It also impacts on the women. They're the ones that go to the villages to find the firewood. I have spoken to every innovator that I have access to in Rwanda. I'm like, where is that technology that is affordable, that allows us to have clean cooking fuel? And so you can create all kinds of mechanisms, cooperatives, district authorities, women's groups, give them the technology, they pay through their usual contributions every week or every month, and they pay it off. But we haven't have access to the technology. So there's a lot of work for us to do if we want to transform Rwanda's development. These things are not just cast in air about nice words. They are real in terms of the direction of travel that Rwanda wants to go. And all of us as committed and as passionate about Rwanda's development, working together to find solutions to address these issues. That's why we need to put internet governance at the center of all of our efforts. For the United Nations system in Rwanda, we have a new plan. You saw that we signed that with government a couple of weeks ago that is focused on digitalizing runs across everything we want to do as a UN system. It's in the brokerage, the facilitation, the networking, the comparative experience, the triangulation, and leveraging access to financing for all kinds of ideas that help the transformation of Rwanda. When I pick the newspaper every day, the banks are declaring humongous profits. So we need a conversation. How do you produce financial instruments that industry operators, it makes sense to them? Because at current credit levels of 16%, nobody wants the credit. So here we are as a nation in a rush for development. Here we are, our financial institutions demanding having big profits, but they need to protect shareholder value. They need return on investment for their shareholders. Well, let's have a handshake in the middle. Let's find solutions that address the issues of the industry address the issues of digitalization, issues of development in Rwanda that allows the affordability of credit to any young person, young boy, young girl with ideas, with some kind of guarantee, the risk of blended approaches that allow us to transform this wonderful country. I thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish you successful conversations for the rest of the day.